Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back into the Buster Show podcast. Today we have a very special guest, and that is because we have Mac Mcclung in on the show. Mac, how are you?
I'm doing well, man. I appreciate you having me. Excited to be here.
Of course. Now, first question, I want to get an idea of what's on the top of your mind right now. So when I say what's exciting you right now, what in life are you most excited about right now?
Yeah, so I just ordered some breakfast. I'm really hungry. Super excited about it. But no, basketball wise, just going to different teams, working out for the different teams and those experiences, sometimes you got to sit back and, I'm going here and there and it's almost hard to think, but sometimes you're like, damn, like I'm chasing my dream right now. This is awesome.
That's a really great point because when you're in the moment, it's very hard to keep that perspective that you're doing that thing that you wanted to do since you were like 5 years old. So that's great that you at least are able to acknowledge that to yourself in some way. But yeah, man, it's exciting. So what made the decision for you to not return to college, to go, obviously play in the NBA? What was the deciding factor there for you?
Yeah, I just kind of weighed my options. I talked to a lot of people I trust and believe in, and I felt like it was the best for me to jump. I think my game resembles the NBA the most, and I felt like it was time to get started on that journey. Very appreciative for Texas Tech and everything they did for me, but I just felt like it was time to chase my dreams.
I love that, man. It's super exciting. Now, when you think about, getting prepped for this, getting prepped for the draft, going to the combine, working out for all these different teams, what do you think you have to do in a sense? Are you trying, is there anything particular about your game that you're trying to show off that these teams might not know about? Or is it more just, I'm who I am, and it just needs to be in front of them more so that they can also understand that?
No, that's a great question. I think there's a little bit of both. Someone like me, I'm going to have to show I can improve in this aspect almost every time I'm out there. But there is a sense of saying who you are. You are who you are. I've heard that a lot. But being the best version of yourself, I think, will be the best for me. Going out, proving time and time again that this is where I belong, and then I can dominate this level.
Are you now growing up? What NBA team were you a fan of?
See, I was a big football guy until about 8th grade. So I love football. I always loved the Philadelphia Eagles, actually, with Terrell Owens. So that was my team. But basketball, I grew into it. I love watching players more than teams.
Got it. That makes sense. So you are team agnostic going into the draft.
Exactly.
Hey man, that's the way to be. If I were ever any good at basketball, I would tell every other team that wasn't the New York Knicks to stay away, and then whatever happens. Is there anybody that you really want to play against or play with at the professional level? Is that something you think about often?
I think it's going to be surreal playing against all the stars and all the big franchises and the arenas. I think all of it will be, probably every night. You go somewhere and you play someone great every night. If I'm lucky enough to be on that stage, I'm sure it'll be surreal every single night, no matter who the superstar is.
Totally. And then all of a sudden you are one of them, and you wonder why you ever thought that in the first place.
Hope so, man. Hope so.
Now I want to ask, I feel like you were the first era of high school stars that were social media famous in high school. What did you think about that at the time? Did you think that it was a good thing? Did you think that it was dangerous in terms of like it could totally derail you because nobody's ever experienced what you experienced in the same way? Like LeBron had 0 Instagram followers when he was in high school. Like
Right.
it's just a different dynamic. Is that something you ever thought was a bad thing, or what did you think about that?
I don't think I really truly ever understood it until maybe getting out of high school, maybe college, or maybe now. I didn't really understand that like people really knew who I was. Like I was like,
Right.
it's just a thing, like you know what I mean. And then you go places and like different places, different cities, and like people know who you are. You're like, what the like? I did not know it was like this because I'm stationed in a real small town, Gay City, Virginia. So like everybody's like, that's just Mac, that's just Mac. Like no one cared. So it was like I really didn't understand the whole situation until kind of until I left. So and I don't think it hurt me in any way. I think it gave me some opportunities, and the good, you take the good with the bad. So hopefully the good outweighs the bad. So in the future.
Totally. And, I think sort of off of that, a question that you're perfectly positioned to answer is, the NCAA is slowly allowing players to start to monetize their brands. And for most athletes, that doesn't mean anything because the majority of sports are not watched on national TV. But for a very few select sports like football and basketball, the stars are known, and the stars are people like yourself. Now, before obviously this past year, and even in a lot of ways still now, it's impossible for those players to make any money off their names. But what do you feel about, the slow progression of those things changing? And what do you think the NCAA can continue to change for, the next Mac Mcclungs?
Yeah, I think it was definitely hard seeing people profit off my name, and I couldn't do it myself. I always felt like even my recruiting pitch, like my freshman year and sophomore, like every time I was going somewhere, it was like, yeah, they're about to change this role, but it never really happened. And I think with the way the G League's going and everything, I think times will have to change soon. And I think players should make money off their name. It's their name, so hopefully that happens soon. NCAA is they got their own stuff, and it's going to be on their time. But I think the game's changing, and it's going to have to.
And I think too, the big thing that I don't understand is when you incentivize the players to want to come play and make money, make more money in the NCAA than you would in the G League or in Australia, like LaMelo Ball did, then they're all going to come play there. The entertainment's better, the games are better, and then you make more money on top of that. That's the big part of it that I never understood, because when you properly incentivize everybody, the end result is better than what it would be if people are not doing well. So that was always the part of it that I never understood. And that's why professional sports are so great. It's because everybody is, properly in, NBA, NFL, NHL, MLB, the major core four sports, people are paid well in correspondence to, what they're providing for the team. I think the split between NBA players getting paid and what the owners are making is the players get about 45% of the team's overall revenue. And that's a really healthy number that I think should be the same in college basketball.
Yeah, no doubt. I think if you think about like, college fan bases too, like they could get behind players, and the money could really be crazy because, like you said, like there's nothing like a college fan base. There's nothing like that support, and it's just we'll see what happens. I won't even really get into
it. Totally. Now playing at college, being a star of a college basketball team, this is something that I was never. What is that feeling like? After you're hitting game winners and then you're walking around, it's sort of like your own NBA bubble in a sense, where you're on this campus, but you are somebody who's, not better than everybody else, but better than everybody else. And, how do you stay grounded in that? Do you stay away from everybody? Like what does that look like?
No, I definitely don't feel like I was, above anyone else and anything like that. Texas Tech was like a family-based kind of community, and I remember like the love you would get just going out to eat was insane. Like everybody on the team, like all of my basketball teammates, like we went out, like everybody knew who this guy was and how many points he averaged and what number he wore. Like it was literally insane, and something I didn't take for granted. And I remember after like the shot you were saying, like I just stayed in my house. I didn't go a single place. It was it was mayhem in Lubbock. So it was like it's undescribable, but no, it's a great place, a great community. I'm sure all athletes everywhere love.
Oh, I wanted to ask, for being on the road as well in college, I feel like that can be one of the most intense experiences as a, star college athlete or anything like that. How do you internally block out the noise? Because as you know, anybody who I ask similar things to, it's always explain how much of the game is truly mental. So those are the sorts of things that really do matter, and other athletes can learn from, and just people in general. So how do you sort of block out that noise internally when you're going into those big opposing arenas?
I think those big opposing arenas is like where your team kind of becomes a team. You know, you kind of like everything's against you, all the fans, like you're at someone else's place, and it's like it's just you now. It's not Lubbock's community, it's not your home base, it's just you, and it kind of like makes you guys come together. And it was always our favorite games, you know, because it always felt like us versus everybody. So I have so many away game memories. They're like my favorite memories of all time. So I loved away games. I think our team thrived in away games this year, and it was just something like we almost look forward to.
I love that. Now, I want to ask on the dunking front, because you're not the tallest guy on any team you played on, and most people are in that same boat, but most people can't do what you can do. If you know if somebody's life was on the line and they're 6'1" and they can't dunk today and they have to dunk a year from now, what advice are you giving said person to be able to accomplish that?
Yeah, so I have a jump program coming out actually
Let's go.
for the draft. I'm going to tell everybody exactly like how I got my bounce and what I did. I've been waiting a long time. You know, hopefully I can profit off my name on this because it's almost every message I get is, how did you learn how to dunk? How did you do this? But there's so many like details that help me out, and people may say that's weird, but like genuinely helped me and genuinely made me like the like dunker I am today. So I can't wait to like kind of release that and show everybody, and I hope it works for everyone.
Where are people going to be able to find that? Just if they follow you on social, they'll be able to see
Yeah,
it.
also I'm about to team up with an app, or I'm gonna find a way which way we're gonna release it. We're still working on the kinks, but yeah, I'll know before too long.
That's super exciting, man. I'm gonna have to check that out myself.
Sounds great. Sounds great.
How was college different from what you imagined going in? You have this, everybody has an idea of whatever they're about to do, especially the bigger things before they do it. And then it's very rarely exactly what you imagined. But what about playing college basketball is different than from what you imagined when you were in high school?
I think it was a lot how I imagined it because um, I really just did what I imagined. So like I didn't imagine like meeting a bunch of girls or partying a bunch. Like I just imagined like being in the gym late night, being in the gym in the morning, being the first one in the gym. Like that's all I really imagined. And it wasn't like the other things were like a bonus. So I really just lived in the gym. I know like everyone says that and it's a cliche, but like that's really all I was at. And I just kind of I learned a lot of patience. I will say that with basketball, and the game of basketball is a little different. And I think that was the biggest thing is I kind of did what I imagined. It almost kind of went to the same place.
Interesting. Now, do you expect, sort of the next level to be just the next iteration of that, more patience, more gym, or do you think there are going to be any other, major adjustments you'll have to make?
Oh, there'll be some major adjustments. There was major adjustments I had to make in college too, but on the court, I feel like it's going to be such more business, and me finding a role, me finding a way to fit and stick. So I know it'll be a huge adjustment, but I'll still be in the gym. That's where I want to be, and everybody will because there's no class, there's nothing else going on. So I look forward to it.
Man, that's the craziest thing about being a college athlete, right? That you have to you have to do some things that you don't want to do. Whereas professionally, you only do what you want to do 24/7,
Mhm.
365, and the league enables you to do said thing. Yeah, that's something that it has always been nuts to me.
Yeah, the balance was definitely a trick. You had to learn because your mindset. All the everybody on the college team wants to make the NBA. You know what I mean? And books are very important, but like people's main goal is the NBA. And then it's like, oh man, I got this test, and it's like it's such a serious. It's the other person's whole life. You know what I mean? It's no joke. The balance is no joke. I give credit to everyone balancing a lot of things, which I'm sure regular students are as well. So yeah.
Totally. Now, you played against a lot of great players. Who are the most underrated guys that you think you've ever gone up against? Guys who maybe the public doesn't think as highly of, but you're like, I've played against that guy. He is way better than people think he is.
Yeah, I think the name that comes to mind, and now he's where he belongs. But Lou Dort plays for Oklahoma City now. I played him. I was like, dude, this guy's the real deal. So explosive. You know, great scorer, great playmaker, and I didn't really hear about him much. And then next thing you know, he's starting for an NBA. I remember that's probably the first one that comes to mind.
Yeah, he goes off, man. Yeah, you look at the box score and it's like, dude scored 23 points. It's like literally in 15 minutes. So that's pretty insane. Um, one other thing I wanted to ask, um, you know, in terms of uh your brand and your positioning, I think the biggest thing about even and like the one good thing where being dominant in college provides you long term if you decide to take that next step is it gives you that personal brand, which then allows you, as we've seen time and time again in the world and on the planet. A great example is, I don't know if you saw the fight that just happened this past weekend, Logan Paul and Floyd Mayweather. Personal brands allow you to do things that other people might want to do but can't. But the combination of skill and being prepared for the moment plus personal brand is, what creates, the best case scenario. So when you're looking at, your next few years ahead of you, making it to the league, are there any brands or things that come to mind where you're like, I really want to do something with them or this person or that person, or have a conversation with this guy? Are there any of those things that come to mind, that your personal brand might grant you that opportunity?
Yeah, I'd say my personal brand, it's something that, basketball is going to be my main focus, but my personal brand is going to be something that I'm going to work so hard at because I want to, replicate people like Shaq. I know that sounds, out there, but I'm not afraid to say it. I love what he does. I love his personality. I love how he markets himself. It's a genius. He's a
Right.
genius. Um, I want to do something different with the brands. I want to market myself well. I'm not going to be the guy being like, hey, this is so and so, and please buy that. You know what I mean? I'm gonna be really working hard and investing a lot of time in that to build my brand and hopefully work my way up to where the big brand is like, wow, we can market this. So yeah, we got a whole plan with all that, and I'm excited to get started.
I love that, man. No, Shaq's the gold standard for that for sure. Like he's definitely done some silly commercials, but he is a smart dude in terms
Yeah.
of the different different areas that he has exposure to. Like when you actually look at all the companies that he's invested in, and oftentimes he'll take equity deals over cash deals, and he owns hundreds of restaurant franchises all over the country. He is an impressive dude.
No, very much so. Very much so.
Honestly, when I think about it, I can't believe he doesn't have more conflicts of interest than he does, because he literally seems like he's the face of everything,
Everything.
while while also owning pieces of everything.
Yeah, I know. it's insane. He really mapped it out well. He set himself up and his family up for a life after basketball. That's like probably more money than he made on the court. You know what I mean? So
Oh, by far.
yeah. So yeah, I think that's a great person to look up to, and hopefully I can follow his path one day.
Totally, man. Guys like him, I mean, Jordan's the best example of that, but obviously he was an all right basketball player. All right. When you look at, I know you said you were more of a football fan, but do you have any opinion on sort of these greatest of all time conversations? I'm sure you see it on Instagram all the time. I see you're repping Jordan right now, so you might be a tiny bit biased, but do you have any thoughts on that whole conversation?
Yeah. What was that? I feel like it's Michael Jordan. I think I just think mentality has to go into it. I think winning has to go into it. I think LeBron and other greats are, LeBron, it might be one of the best player of all time, overall, like playmaking and athleticism and scoring. Like he's unbelievable. But there's just something that Michael Jordan's going to make people gravitate that no one else can do like that, in my opinion. But my opinion doesn't really matter. It's not going to change who's the best of all time. People will always argue that. So,
of course, man, it's a subjective question in nature, but it's fun to talk about, and people do care about your opinion too, as a player. So, I think you have a unique angle there. One interesting thing that while you were saying that, I'm thinking about is, if social media were around when Jordan was playing, would people feel differently? Because that mentality, like all we see of Jordan and his mentality is what is hand selected to show us.
Exactly.
Yeah. Whereas with social media, somebody like LeBron, you get it all.
That's a great point.
So maybe like Jordan posting golf pics on Instagram every day, would, I don't know. I'd be really interested. Or maybe he wouldn't even be on social at all. And that would be like a whole nother level of like, oh, Michael Jordan's like so insanely focused. He doesn't even, but he was a brand guy. He would have been on social for marketing reasons. It's interesting, man. It's a fun conversation. But do you feel lucky as, sort of like the first high school basketball generation to be huge on social?
Yeah, I think so. I think it'll really, be a blessing here in the future for me and something I can use as a platform. At times, it gets old and stuff like that, but I would definitely say in the long run, it's going to be a blessing and hopefully something I can use as a platform.
Totally. In terms of diet and nutrition, this is something that I always ask, personally speaking, just because I want to understand how, those, like, these are the sorts of questions that really matter for people, because it's like, all right, if somebody learns one little thing about that and then applies it to their life, I mean, how it's the little things that matter. In terms of your diet and nutrition, how much emphasis do you put on that as opposed to working out, and where's sort of the balance in there? And if there is anything specific that, you have to eat before games or you stay away from before games, I'd love to know what that is.
Yeah. So, after my freshman year, I took out all fried foods. I took out all desserts, any high calorie foods I just took out of my system, and I lost a lot of weight. I felt all right. And I kind of learned that it's all about balance. You know what I mean? I don't think it's good to, eat, fried chicken every day, or after a game, you need to eat a bad meal. But I learned it was balance a lot. I feel like you're allowed to eat some things that aren't so healthy every once in a while. I feel like if you crave something, you should have it. I think in the right time, you should eat healthy. I kind of learned that throughout my process. I was eating so strict, and then I kind of went off, and I kind of felt the same. Maybe it's because I was young, and I'll learn more as I get older. But right now, my diet's kind of balanced out, and I'll eat what I want some days, and then if I'm closer to playing, I'll eat healthy, and yeah, so everything's kind of a balance for me. I know, maybe that'll be controversial, but But yeah.
Oh man, not controversial at all, because you don't, and I've sort of seen this myself. I've been on both sides of it, where uh going with what's easiest, then also being like an insane person and only like drinking those health drinks and stuff like that for like weeks at a time. And it's like, all right, no bread. I did no bread, no sugar for like 4 months, which it is what it is. You feel great, but there are times where it would probably ease your mind and make it worth it to have that thing that you wanted, because otherwise you're just gonna feel a little crazy. So I definitely hear. I think the balance is a strong point to be had.
Yeah, for sure, man. I remember kind of going through that process. The first 4 months, I was literally like I was like craving like bad, and it almost drove me insane. But I learned balance. Like you don't go crazy with food, and it just kind of helped me with my weight stabilization and the way I feel on a day-to-day basis. So, like you said, balance, I think, is the way to go.
Totally. No, it's super important there. Now, if you were to give your high school self a little bit of advice, what would you be telling yourself?
Um, I would just tell myself, to stay the course, patience, trust myself, um, I don't know. That's a good question. I would just tell myself to stay the course and be patient. I know so like I was wanting things to be here and there, but everybody runs their own race. So I would just tell myself to embrace that.
Yeah, totally. And especially in professional sports, I only know this from sort of the outside side, but how do you sort of keep yourself mentally from comparing to anybody else? I think these are sort of the important things, for especially the younger people that listen to this podcast. How do you personally do that? Do you meditate? Is there something that's always in your mind that you remind yourself of? What is that for you? And I'll share mine after.
Yeah, I think one of the worst things you can do is compare someone else's journey to yours. This guy went to school 1 year and I'm at school for 3. You know what I mean? Or I wanted to get it done. It doesn't. It really doesn't matter, as we know. But I would say just embrace your story. I kind of, the best thing I do is I go from the start of my life and where I was at and all the things I was told I wasn't going to do. And then I kind of go through a timeline in my head, and it kind of helps me kind of ground myself and be like, man, like, I'm grateful to be chasing this dream. I'm still on path. I still can do it. And it kind of helps me going through my timeline.
Totally. I love that. For me, it was always, if I know for a fact that I'm going to accomplish every goal I ever want to accomplish, what do I have to worry about?
Right.
Like why would you care about? So you should want to help everybody else for sure that you love. But if you know for a fact that you're going to do everything you want to do, which everybody should for whatever their own personal goals are, because that's the only way to get to there, then there's no, like, what are you thinking about?
Right.
It's like,
Right.
what are you worried about? It's like that was always the thing for me, um, for all that stuff. And I think too, it's important for everybody to know that things happen at different times, and all that's meant to be is always meant to be,
Exactly.
and that's huge. um so you're getting ready for when is the combine?
It's the 18th, I believe.
18th. So what does your preparation look like? Are you just training every day? Are you what is that? What is the day to day right now?
Yeah, so I'm just training every day at the same time. So I'm weightlifting, recovering. I think recovery is such a big part of this process. I didn't understand until I got into it, because these workouts take such a toll on your body, and travel into this city to work out for a team. They come back, oh, I got workouts tomorrow. Like, it's a lot on your body. It's really tough. And, I feel like recovery has been really important to me. And, it's taken a toll on me, but, like you said, I'm grateful to be a part of this, and I got some exciting times coming up, some exciting opportunities.
Totally, man. Yeah, I'm excited to see it all. Now, if you had one piece of advice for sort of a younger basketball player, I imagine it's echoing a lot of those sentiments that you had earlier in terms of patience and just being in the gym. And the big thing that I also picked up from what you said earlier was envisioning it, in the light of, I see myself late night in the gym. That's not something that I think a lot of people envision when they think about, going to the next level. But what would that advice be for, let's say a middle school basketball player now?
Yeah. So I think the biggest thing would be, I always ask myself 3 questions. And I think these questions matter more than any drill, or, because if these questions, you answer these, like, it's how bad do you want it? What are you willing to do for it? And what are you willing to give up for it? And I always ask myself those 3 questions. And it kind of just helps me stay stable in the place I'm at. Am I really doing everything I can? What can I take out? What do I not need to do? I didn't go to any parties in high school. I didn't do any of that. Like, who else willing to give up that? Like, you say you want it, how bad do you really want it? You know what I mean? So there could be all these drills or a jump program, but at the end of the day, man, those 3 questions where it's all about. So, and if that's how you feel, and if you really want something, you can get it. That's what's crazy about life. Like, you really want it, you can go get it. So that's all there really is to it.
Totally, man. Now, what are your answers to those 3 questions today?
Yeah, they've always been the same, man.
Everything, and everything.
Want it more than I can breathe, man. So this, I want it more than I want to breathe. I saw that on the Eric Thomas. I'll listen to that a lot too. I love him as a motivational speaker.
He's great. I think that's honestly a very fitting way to end it. I love how determined you are, bro, and I can't wait to see everything that's to come, man.
Well, I appreciate it, man. I appreciate you having me.
Of course. So where can people find you best? On Instagram, on Twitter? Where should people follow you?
Yeah, I got a MySpace page. I'm just kidding. Instagram, just Mac Mcclung, and Twitter, Mac Mcclung. And that's pretty much where I'm at. I'm trying to start a TikTok. I'm not very good at it. It's the same.
Good,
it's
man.
the same.
TikTok is crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll anytime you ever have any TikToks, just send it over and we'll get it posted on the Hoops Nation account. No problem.
I lose all, but I appreciate it,
man. Cool, man. Well, young Shaq, I appreciate you.
Let's hope so.
All right. I'll catch you, brother.
All right. I'll see you, man.